Hello fellow Neptunians, welcome back to the channel. Recently we brought you our top 5 UFO encounters as well as our top 5 cryptids. Today we're bringing you our top 5 alien abduction and close encounters. Did you know that only around 40% of you people watching are actually subscribed? It takes hours for us to put these videos together but only takes a second to press that button. You wouldn't believe how something so small could go such a long way. Now, without further ado, let's jump in. Number 5. Antonio Villas Boas. October 16th, 1957, São Francisco de Sales, Brazil. Perhaps the eldest popularized abduction incident of all time, Brazilian farmer Antonio Villas Boas was plowing his field when he witnessed what he described as a red star bright in the night sky. The star grew larger in size as it appeared to approach the farmer. As it neared, Boas realized that this was in fact an unidentified flying object, circular in shape with a red light and rotating dome. Terrified, Boas tried to flee in his tractor, only for the engines to suddenly stop. He was then confronted by a 1.5 meter tall humanoid creature with small blue eyes wearing a helmet. He recounted that the creature did not talk, but instead barked or yelped. 3 other similar beings appeared and dragged Boas onto their ship. Boas was examined and experimented on, some of which made the Brazilian violently ill. Finally, Boas was joined by another humanoid creature, this one female, attractive with platinum blonde hair and blue eyes. Boas reportedly told how he was attracted to the female and was made to engage in sexual intercourse. Once finished, Boas was escorted off the ship, as the beings then left the planet. Although much evidence and details of the encounter is still debated, the encounter represents the first significant documented abduction story ever recorded and therefore makes it to number 5. Number 4. Hilary Porter. Hilary Porter, a novelist and famed ufologist from Wales in the UK, says she has been abducted countless times by aliens known as the Greys, as well as encounters with reptilians, all of her life from being a small child. Initially, Porter had no recollection of the abductions until an incident in 1994.
Of it till I had a crisis abduction in 94, and this crisis abduction took me down a timeline, and I'm seeing a small child going into a field, and the camera pans in, and it's me.
The aliens in question are reportedly interdimensional beings able to create portals to and from anywhere they choose, meaning they can abduct her from her own home at will. Porter described an air of malevolence about the creatures, experimenting on both male and female humans in order to create alien-human hybrids. Porter tells of aliens forcing humans to mother these hybrids in order to allow them to fully integrate into human society. Could this be a hostile takeover, or are they trying to aid us in our own evolution? Either way, they are here amongst us, says Porter, as she makes her way to the number 4 spot. Number 3. Hickson and Parker, Pascagoula, 1973. October 11, 1973, Pascagoula, Mississippi. Charles Hickson and co-worker Calvin Parker Jr. were fishing off a pier on the west bank of the Pascagoula River. Whilst there, they reportedly heard a strange whizzing and whirring sound in the night sky, followed by the appearance of blue flashing lights reflecting off the water. Then, out of seemingly nowhere, the fishermen were approached by an unidentified flying object roughly 30 to 40 feet in diameter. The craft landed on the riverbed behind the pair and stood around 10 feet high. The front of the craft then opened and 3 humanoid creatures, 4.5 to 5 feet in height, incredibly muscular, appeared and took them on board. Whilst on board, the pair were examined by an extraterrestrial that was very different to the ones they initially encountered. This one was much more feminine looking with long fingers. This alien began to examine Parker. He described the incident, stating he seemed to be paralysed, however was in a fair amount of pain during the examination. The examining alien telepathically assured Parker that they were not there to harm him or his co-worker Hickson. When the pair were released, they went straight to the sheriff's office to report the case. As expected, the authorities didn't believe the pair and subjected them to a polygraph test. Both passed. In the years since, UFO, alien and psychiatric experts have interviewed the two, with each of them concluding they must have experienced an extraterrestrial encounter of the 4th kind. This earns its spot at number 3. Number 2. Travis Walton. Perhaps the most famous incident on our list, inspiring the cult movie Fire in the Sky. The case of Travis Walton is as harrowing as it is believable. On November 5th, 1975, Travis Walton was working in the Sitgreaves National Park near Snowflake, Arizona. He and 6 of his co-workers had just finished a full day's work as forestry workers for a local timber company. They travelled back home together, and as they drove through the forest, they noticed brilliant lights of red and yellow shining just above the treetops. Initially, thinking it was a forest fire, the group drove towards the source. However, what they found shocked each of them to their core. As they approached, they noticed the lights moving, As it moved into a clearing in the forest, they could see the lights were actually part of an extraterrestrial craft, circular in shape. Travis approached the field in the clearing, and as he did, a brilliant light shone down and knocked him several feet across this clearing. His body, now lifeless, his co-workers fled the scene assuming the worst. As they got away from the craft, the co-workers knew they needed to recover Travis's body and raced back to the scene, but when they got there, both Travis's body and the craft were gone. When his co-workers reported the incident to the local police, they were taken into custody, with the police assuming that they had either intentionally or accidentally killed Travis and concocted the whole story. A 5-day manhunt ensued as local police and civilians scoured the forest looking for his body. They found nothing. In this time, each of Travis's co-workers asked for a polygraph test in order to prove their innocence. Each of them passed. After 5 days, Travis reappeared and recounted his horrific ordeal. He awoke in a hospital-like room with 3 short-balled aliens. He fought with them in order to escape. However, it was a human-like being that rescued Travis. The being led Travis into another room where he was greeted by others. Once here, the beings placed a plastic mask over his face, and at this point, Travis blacked out. When he awoke, he was walking along the highway with the UFO above him and flying away. Although skeptics have tried to discredit the incident, Travis also took a polygraph and passed, meaning a total of 7 people recounted the same incident and none of them were deemed to be lying. This cements its place at number 2. Number 1. Betty and Barney Hill. Widely considered the very first alien abduction case to gain international fame. In September 1961, at around 10:30 p.m, Betty and Barney Hill were driving back to their home in Portsmouth after vacation in Niagara Falls and Montreal. Just south of Lancaster in New Hampshire, Betty noticed a bright light in the sky, moving erratically. At first, they thought it was a shooting star. However, the light appeared to be moving upwards and in different directions. They decided to pull over and take a closer look using their binoculars. As Betty looked on, she noticed that the bright lights were in fact an odd-shaped craft with multicoloured lights on the front. The Hills got back into their car and continued on their journey, still observing the craft. Then suddenly, 1 mile south of Indian Head, the craft rapidly descended towards the car.
Stopped in midair directly in front of us. I realized that they undoubtedly planned to take us on board.
Barney, using his binoculars, saw around 11 figures staring through the windows of the craft. He could see that they were not human. Terrified, he raced back to his car, but suddenly they heard a whirring sound and a vibration in the air coupled with a tingling sensation, and then darkness. When the Hills regained consciousness, they were back on the highway, but had somehow managed to travel 35 miles. Their memories were patchy, and they couldn't account for the lost time they had experienced, but they noticed oddities that they could not explain. For example, both of their watches had stopped working, and their leather strap on Barney's binoculars was torn, but he could not recollect how that had happened. Several days later, Betty began to have dreams about the ordeal, and regularly dreamt about small humanoid creatures capturing her and her husband and performing examinations. Both Barney and Betty underwent hypnotherapy in order to try and access their missing memory. Both Barney and Betty recounted a terrifying encounter in which they were separated and taken into different rooms in order to be assessed. Barney, in particular, displayed signs of unimaginable fear during the sessions.
Here, Captain, what is he? You're still asleep, but you can see it all clearly. Looks like a big pancake with windows. Get away from me!
As their sessions progressed, it became clear that their stories were matching up. Stories that would have clear gaps in if either one of them were lying. Could this have been the world's very first recorded alien encounter of the fourth kind that kicked off decades of human abductions and experimentation? Or has this been occurring for hundreds of years, dating back to ancient civilizations? What do they want with us humans? Maybe we'll never know. But what we do know is that this case takes that number 1 spot. Thanks for watching this week's episode. Let us know what your views are and sound off in the comments. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. As we said earlier, something so little can go such a long way. And until next time, remember to always question everything.